Join me on this epic sewing rescue mission as I try to salvage my spring sewing dress disaster. Whether you're a beginner, an intermediate or an advanced sewist, we all make mistakes, and I did with this, what I thought was going to be a beautiful spring dress. I put lots of effort in and it failed. But today I'm going to take you on my journey of how I'm, fingers crossed, going to bring it round and utilise it and get a different dress, but very wearable and more me. So the eagle-eyed or the avid watchers among you will know that I made the Aspen dress from Fabric Godmother. I'll be putting a little video up here of me twirling not so happily in it when I was down on my sewing retreat recently. It came out mahoosive. There was too much fabric in it and it buried me. To say I had a sack on was an understatement in the extreme. So I've put it in its project bag and didn't want to look at it. You know that feeling. We've all been there. But today I've decided that I'm going to readdress it. I'm going to take it apart, recut the bodice with a different pattern, and probably take quite a bit of the gather out of the skirt as well. We're not having a collar on. We might have a zip on, or we might have buttons down the placket. I haven't decided just yet. But the pattern that I'm going to use to hack it and get a fitting dress out of is the Sew Liberated Hinterland Dress. There's an image of it. So it's got a lot more fitting in the bodice than the Aspen dress. I've ditched the collar because I thought it was just too much and I didn't like it. And the dress I'm going to make is going to see me through spring with layering garments over the top and into the summer as well, which I didn't feel that the Aspen dress would do with the big zip up the front and the big collar around your neck. It felt a bit claustrophobic round the neck and massive everywhere else. So, Hinterland dress. I'm going to get the dress taken apart. I've taken my measurements and I'm cutting out a size 6 in the Hinterland dress. I'm going to make the top placket only. There are lots of options with this dress. You can have the placket all the way down, so a full button through dress. I'm keeping the skirt plain because I've got that embroidery on my bottom panel and I don't want to break that up. And I'm having a top placket on it. And the little cap sleeves. I was toying with doing a puff sleeve on. Might do that yet. But I'm thinking I might not have enough fabric to play with because I'm literally using the bodice of the huge Aspen. But we'll see. We might get a puff sleeve or we'll get a cap sleeve depending on how much fabric I've got to play with. So I'm going to go cut my pattern out, rip my dress apart. Well, not rip it, seam rip it, and make a star. Once I've got it all cut out and I've figured out what I'm doing, I'll bob back and let you know where I'm up to. Okay, so I've just bobbed on. I'm cutting out my Hinterland dress bodice and I've laid it over, this is the back, and I've laid it over what was the Aspen dress back bodice, just to show you how huge that bodice is. So I'm hopeful that the Hinterland dress is going to look much more fitted, much more me, and much less like a sack. So I've cut all of my Hinterland Dress pattern pieces out now, and I just about managed it apart from two things. So we'll run through the pattern pieces and I'll tell you how I overcome my little shortfall on fabric. We got the front bodice out. Now when I did this I had to unpick the pockets, and I'm sure you can't see them on here. I've given them a good steamy press to try and get rid of all the little holes, because they had huge pockets on the front of the Aspen dress, didn't it? And the Hinterland doesn't have any, which is probably better for me in the boob area. So I've given it a press and I've sprayed it with Best Press, and I'm hopeful that you're not really going to see it unless you know that those little holes are there. So I got the front bodice out, and this front bodice is a little bit fitted because it's got darts in, which is going to be better for me. I opted for the short cap sleeves simply because I didn't have enough fabric to start messing around and doing anything else, and I didn't want to buy any more. So we're on a short cap sleeve for this dress. You'll have already seen where I put the back piece onto the original back panel of the Aspen dress. Now that is where the Aspen dress is huge. So I easily got my back panel for the Hinterland out of the back panel for the Aspen. We need two front plackets because I've not decided whether I'm going to put a zip in yet or whether we're going to do buttons. So I've cut those plackets out just in case. And then we've got the skirt panels, which easily, with my beautiful floral fabric, I've kept them the same length that I had the original Aspen dress, but just let me grab the pieces that I've cut off. Now, I'd reduced the width of the Aspen dress panels to start off with by, I would say 3 inches on the front and the back, just because that was where my embroidery finished. But when I put the panel for the Hinterland, which is a gathered skirt, the same, this is what I've cut off each panel. So I don't know how many inches that is, but there's that much out of the front and the same out of the back. So you can see just how gathered a skirt it really was on the Aspen. Great if you're a 3-year-old and you want to swish around and show mummy how lovely you look. But a woman who's pushing 60 doesn't need that much gather in a skirt, in my opinion. So it's all cut out. I'm going to whiz it up now, fingers crossed, in an afternoon, and then by the end of today, hopefully I will have rescued my beautiful embroidery and my beautiful chambray fabric, and it will no longer look like a sack of an Aspen dress. Almost forgot, the last 2 pieces that I needed to cut out and I did not have enough fabric for were the pockets. So I've cut mine out of some cute Tula pink Sky Scene fabric in pink, because these are going to go inside and you'll just see a little pop of pink inside my pocket maybe. And then you've got to get yourself a piece of cross grain bias binding. You could use some shop bought. I've used the same fabric as the pockets, and you could use the same fabric as your dress, but again I had no fabric left, so we've got that little bit of pink around the neck on the inside as well. So let's get cracking and get a dress made. So I've finished it. The pattern's all done. I have actually transformed my Aspen dress into the Hinterland dress. And this, I think, actually suits me a lot better than the Aspen did. It couldn't be any worse, could it? So while I'm talking, the twirl of me in my Aspen will pop up over here, and the one of me in my Hinterland will pop up over here. Just so that you can see, it is possible to transform a disaster into a very wearable dress. So what did I do to get from that to that? I had to take it all apart, as I said at the beginning. I cut a size 6 out in the Hinterland dress. I went between a 6, dropped between a 6 and an 8. And the biggest size I could get out of the front panels of the Aspen was the size 6. So that's what I had to go with the Hinterland. Cut it all out. I went with the little cap sleeves because I didn't have enough fabric to do anything else. I didn't have enough fabric for the binding on the inside, so I've done that in pink. And then I've also done pink in the pockets. I've got 3 cute pink buttons, and it all matches up with the embroidery. Can you tell I'm chuffed? It was worth the pain of taking that very well made but not very well fitted Aspen dress apart. So what did I think of the Hinterland? Because we all know what I thought of the Aspen, don't we? It's gone in the bin, that pattern. The Hinterland, it's been out for quite a while. I've had it over a year, never made it up, so it was a good opportunity to utilise a pattern that's been in my pattern stash for a while. The bodice has come out quite snug. You can see it is straining a little bit with the booby loobies, but I'm hoping to lose a little bit of weight before summer hits. Fingers crossed, and it will fit a little bit better then. I had to cut the 6. I should have done an 8, possibly a 10 in the bodice, but I'm okay with it. I've done the seams as narrow as I could do, and I widened the placket. I've done the placket down the front twice the width that it was in the pattern, just to give me a little bit of extra room over the boob area, and actually I think I prefer it. So I will always do that placket twice the width. I think it gives it makes it a little bit more of a feature. Now the Hinterland dress can be done like I've done with just a placket top, or it can be a full button down dress. So now I know that it fits nice, I think next one might be in a linen, and it'll be a full button down dress. Now, I'm sort of thinking that I want to do a cream linen. Cream, I know, that's not going to stay clean for long, is it? But I think cream linen, I want to do embroidery around the bottom again because I think that looks stunning. And yeah, I haven't got any in my stash, so it might not be for quite a while because I'm trying not to buy fabric. And I'm failing abysmally. I've bought some today, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Hinterland. So, were there any difficult parts about it? Well, not really. I've got to be honest with you. It was all pretty straightforward. The instructions were really good. I wouldn't say it was a beginner pattern just because you've got a placket and buttonholes to do. But apart from that, oh, and the bit of binding round the neck might be a bit tricky if you've never done it before. But apart from that, it was actually a fairly straightforward make. So what you could do if you don't want to do buttonholes, because you will need them, well I do anyway, to get it past the boobs, you could put poppers on it or press studs down the front You could put false presses and sew the buttons on the front, or you could just do fancy poppers. That would work. So yeah, maybe a beginner could actually do it, because there's not much else that you can go wrong. It's got inseam pockets, which are fairly straightforward, gathering round the waist, and just a couple of bust darts. So yeah, if you want a nice, reasonably easy dress that's going to cover all the seasons, because it's got long sleeve, 3/4 sleeve and cap sleeve options. It's got a button through placket, top, bodice, or a full length button through. So there's plenty of scope to make quite a few different sorts of dresses from one pattern with it. And I, for one, am glad that I actually dipped my toe in the water and made this pattern up, because yeah, everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? And if that Aspen hadn't have been such an epic fail, I probably wouldn't have done this dress. I don't know why. It's just, when you're sewing, and you've been sewing as long as I have, you want a challenge in your sewing, and it wasn't enough of a challenge for me. I think that's what it was. So yeah, loving the Hinterland. Hate, hate, hate the Aspen dress.